Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. Ty Hildebrand here, Dan Rubenstein over there. solidverbal@gmail.com, as always, is our email address. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat. And Dan Rubenstein, look, I got one thing to say here at the very top of the show.
Okay.
We work really hard to put out a fun product.
Yes, we do.
We do it in tandem with our mysterious day jobs. Yours a little less mysterious than mine.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of early mornings, takes a lot of late nights to make this particular brand of sausage. So,
for those who are wondering, I flipped the letters on the television show Wheel of Fortune.
Correct.
I go through a lot of makeup. Yeah.
So, if you want to help, a bunch of ways that you can do it. They're all greatly appreciated. Subscribe at itunes.com/solidverbal. We're also on Google Play and on Stitcher. Hopefully coming soon to Spotify.
Yeah.
Anywhere where you can rate us or write a review, all that stuff helps. Even if you listen on an app like Overcast, click on the recommend button after you listen to the show. That helps. Also, sign up for our newsletter of intent. We send it out every Friday with the good help of our friend Taylor from Red Shell Radio. And now you can listen to a more streamlined verbal every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. on SB Nation Radio. We're in about 80 markets around the country, Dan.
Yep.
If your market isn't one of them, you can still listen via the SB Nation Radio app or via the SB Nation Radio podcast arena. We'll send out links to all that stuff. So please help us out. Help us help you in the college football ether, Dan.
Yes. And hey, Ty, you know something. You know they're all the same. You know they're doing better on your own. So what I'm going to ask for you, Ty, is don't buy in. I just need you to live right now. I need you to be yourself. And it does not matter if that's not good enough for someone else. It doesn't. It's
That's
just
Jimmy Eat World. The middle,
indeed.
right? That's Jimmy Eat World.
Takes some time. Ty, and in this case, you're the little girl because you are in the middle of the ride.
That's right.
Is the Week 3 preview.
The Week 3 preview. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, this is big. We're on a roller coaster, so this would be, I don't know if this would be the ebb or the flow, but Week 3 feels a little bit like Week 1, except now we have knowledge going in, and there are games. There's a good chunk of games at, I believe, 3:30 Eastern, a good chunk of games in the between the 7 and 8 o'clock hours, and this game is when I feel like, what is it, the curd separates from the whey?
Sure.
Something like that. I'm quite excited for this week, and it's not just because I do not have to stay up until 2 a.m. to watch the conclusion of my team's game.
Yeah, if you're a fan of home dogs, and we all know you're a fan of the sound that we have for home dogs, but if you're a fan of home dogs, Week 3 is for you. There are 5 home underdogs on our big slate this week, and a number of other games that could be interesting when we get to some of the undercard matchups, which we will discuss a little bit later on. Also, a nice hybrid week, right?
Yeah.
Week 1, we saw a lot of non-con matchups. This week in Week 3, we've got some conference games. We've got some non-conference games, a little something for everybody, which I think is what makes it so interesting.
Let's just get into it.
Dan, let's get right into the college football action, shall we?
I already said I wanted to.
Dan, Ty, help. I need picks of the week.
You know, sometimes we pussyfoot around at the top of a show.
Watch yourself.
How are you? What are you up to? What are you doing? Where are you going? What are you eating this weekend? No. Not in Week 3, Dan. not
We'll
Week
save
3. Time is fleeting and ever precious here on our 45 to 60 to 75-minute podcast, depending how
It's
loquacious
free,
we
Ty.
decide to be this evening.
Yeah.
Here is what we're doing. We are starting on Saturday. I realize there's a big game on Thursday, but so as to not invalidate this podcast within the first 10 minutes, let's go to Saturday at high noon on ABC.
Yes.
Florida State on the road. 2.5 points is your line. They're the favorite. They are on the road at Louisville. All right. Sort of weird, isn't it? Sort of weird not seeing a big game in Louisville that isn't a Thursday or a Friday night game?
That is true. Yes, and it's a nooner, which probably plays to the advantage of Florida State. Crowd can't get worked up into a frenzy all day drinking, I'm assuming, Papa John's wine.
Sure.
Is that what that's what they're drinking in Louisville. A game between perhaps, and certainly they won't be on the field at the same time, but two of the more intriguing offensive talents in the country in Dalvin Cook and Lamar Jackson for Louisville. But yeah, after the showing that Louisville's put up these past couple weeks against, granted, not huge competition, it is interesting to see them an underdog at home. It would have to be against a really, really good team, we would suppose. And I do have a lean in this game. Do you?
I have a fairly strong lean towards Florida State.
Interesting. Why is that?
You know, at some point we got to pump the brakes on Lamar Jackson. Like so
You're
much.
pumping him week 3?
Well, listen, here's why.
Whoa.
Hold on. Hear me out here.
All right.
When a guy accounts for 13 touchdowns in 2 games, the hype and the excitement is inevitable. And you don't blame the media. You don't blame Lamar Jackson. You don't blame anybody for that. Those are video game numbers.
Right.
At some point, you got to pump the brakes and look at the competition. All right, so they throttled Charlotte in week 1. Charlotte could legitimately be the worst team in the Football Bowl subdivision.
I believe they're 1-1.
Okay, they could legitimately be one of the worst teams, I'll say.
Okay.
All right, then week 2, okay, on the road at Syracuse, weird place to play. Louisville wins impressively, but again, please do not confuse Syracuse with any kind of juggernaut.
Okay.
For me, it's a really big jump to go from Charlotte and Syracuse to Florida State.
Yeah.
Because Lamar Jackson ain't scoring 8 touchdowns against Florida State. I'll tell you that right now.
Florida State's going Charleston Southern to Louisville.
Yeah, but they played Ole Miss.
They did play Ole Miss. Yeah.
They played Ole Miss right out of the chute. This game is going to move a lot faster for Lamar Jackson. And even though Florida State's going to be without Derwin James, they still might have the best defensive line in the country. Jackson's mobile, right? He's probably going to negate some of that, but are there enough playmakers elsewhere on that Louisville offense to beat a defense that I think has a playmaker at just about every position? That's the big question for me.
Okay. Which team, if I had to ask you to guess, is leading the country in 20-yard passes allowed?
I'm going to guess that's Florida State.
And it would be the Florida State Seminoles. Yes, Florida State has allowed more passes of 20-plus yards, that'd be 11 of them, than any Power 5 team. And now they lose Derwin James, which is not great considering how great of a safety / linebacker / defensive tackle / nose tackle / nickel corner
/
he is.
playmaker, right?
Yes. So certainly something to watch out for when Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball for the other team and running the ball for the other team and trying to confuse secondaries the entire time. So I think if I'm going to go with my rules and I'm going to acknowledge Florida State struggling, they've recruited corner very well, deep at the position, but have struggled, especially given the type of offense Louisville is going to run, which is not totally dissimilar from what Ole Miss ran. I'm going to go with the home team.
Wow.
With the quarterback who is, at the very least, I know that your brakes have been pumped. You have gone to, what did I call it? Instalube?
Yes.
You have gotten everything checked out at Instalube. You are pumping those brakes. I am going to roll with, at the very least, good quarterback, possibly great quarterback, at home against a defense that is yet to come into its own and will try to force a green, albeit promising quarterback for Florida State, to beat them through the air. So I am going Louisville. I think they win this game.
Wow, you're going outright.
I'm going outright 31-27 Cardinals.
So I think by default, that would make Louisville your home dog of the week, right?
At least one of them. I want to hear that sound, though.
The Yakos, home dog of the week.
Yakko's getting a lot of love on this podcast. Somebody updated the Yakko's hot dog Wikipedia page.
Mm-hmm.
With a reference to the solid verbal, which I do appreciate.
By the way, Ty,
they're not paying for any of this, mind you, but I do appreciate it nonetheless.
You mentioned Florida State's defensive line. Chris Williams, James Hearns, not insignificant defensive lineman for Louisville.
No, I'm with you. I get it. And look, here's the thing. This is a great matchup.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of game I think Florida State wins because it's better, not because Louisville's overrated or even has any great gap in talent. I just think Florida State is better here. And we could talk all you want till you're blue in the face about Lamar Jackson. And I get the hype. I get the excitement. But DeAndre Francois, he's standing over there in the corner, Dan. He's looking at you and he's saying, sup. What's up? Because the S&P numbers actually like what Florida State has done on offense slightly more than what Louisville's done on offense.
Sure.
That is not insignificant either. So I don't think Louisville is overrated. I do think that Florida State is better. Great game. Early on College Football Saturday, I'm going to say 31-27.
So we have the same score, but different winners.
I have 31-27, and I jotted that down.
I have it written down on my note.
On my loose leaf paper. The way I jot down all my notes, loose leaf paper, loose leaf yellow legal pad, jotted down here very hastily, 31-27.
Same score, but only one of us has the stones.
So we sort of agree.
Sort of agree.
All right. You got Louisville outright. I've got Florida State.
Saucy.
-4. Okay. Moving on. Let's go to 3:30.
Moving on.
Let's go to 3:30 now.
Yep.
This one's on CBS. Alabama up to a 10-point favorite, another road favorite. It's a big number. 10 points on the road at Ole Miss. Need I remind you that Ole Miss has actually won the last 2 matchups between these teams, both by 6 points.
Yep.
That was after 10 straight defeats at the hands of Alabama between 2004 and 2013. Here is the question I have for you.
Such a different time in 2013. Can you even remember who you were? You weren't married.
I wasn't married.
Think about all of the different things happening.
Yeah, 2013. Wow, that was the Everett Golson era back then. What else?
Snapchat was just for genitals,
yeah.
I believe, way back when. It was just totally a different era. So, yes, it's been a couple years since Alabama
halcyon days, yeah.
has been on the right side of that column. So what is your question?
My question is this. We need to start here. Does Alabama crockpot Ole Miss?
Ooh, that is a good question. I don't think so. But continue.
For those wondering, what are we talking about, crockpot? We drew a comparison in week 1 that Alabama wins games like you cook barbecue chicken or some kind of stew or anything in a slow cooker, or a crock pot, right? It's just nothing happens for 4 hours, but something is very slowly, gradually happening, a bubble here, a bubble there. Before you know it, you pop the lid and it's done.
Turns out USC was deep fried by Alabama, and it was not a slow stewing or braising.
So here's what I think. This is going to be the best defense that young Jalen Hurts has seen in his collegiate career. Yes?
Yeah. For sure.
The difference in the game, though, I think, is the Bama front 7. And I feel like a broken record already. I say it week in and week out. It's only week 3, right? But the front 7 was really what enabled that destruction of USC in week 1. And I think it's what's going to hold down Ole Miss offensively until Bama can figure out a way to move the ball here. That's what it comes down to for me.
How dare you sell Clay Helton short about what did USC in week 1? No, you're absolutely right that this will be by far the best defense that either team has played. Here's the thing I'm going to go back to. I am not ready to give Bama, even after that win against USC, more because USC still seems sort of like a mess to me. I'm not ready to give Alabama Tide minus anything. Not yet.
No?
They have struggled on offense at times. They don't have that horse like... Listen, Derrick Henry is by far a human being and not an animal, or a horse. They do not have that player that they can count on in the backfield next to a green quarterback when things get dicey. Whereas players like Blake Sims and Jake Coker they've had their rocks. They've had a very experienced offensive line, a deep defense, and mind you, the defense is great. But Alabama has struggled against this Ole Miss offense, and you are asking me to pick a road favorite against a home dog with a very good quarterback who has been able to play 4 full quarters up until the Florida State game, a good defense, and a good home crowd. I don't think Ole Miss pulls it out this year, but I don't think there's any way Alabama crockpots this team. I think it's a back-and-forth game that Alabama eventually wins 27-24.
Okay, so you're thinking close then.
So I think it's close. I think it's back and forth. I think Ole Miss keeps them off balance enough. When you saw the first half of that Ole Miss game, that was game planning against a Florida State defense that they had studied and to a certain extent, didn't really work in the second half, figured out because those receivers were running so open. So they knew what Florida State was going to do. So I am going to bank on the Ole Miss coaching staff's ability to scout, exploit weakness, like they have for these past couple seasons against Alabama. Better defenses, I would argue, than what Alabama is fielding right now, at least at the moment. So I think Ole Miss, even without a running game, which at moments has seemed to have improved, even without that, even without an offensive line, which is not where it was, I think the Rebels take it. I'm going to go with, the Akbars. May he rest in peace.
Wow.
I think they take it in terms of covering the spread.
Okay.
I should have been clear.
Yeah.
They cover this game 27-24. They lose, but it's another classic in this
Do you want the
series.
home dog sound again then?
Yeah, dog me up.
Jeez. It's 2 for 2 here.
The Yakos.
Tie.
Home dog of the week.
What is going on?
I can't stress this enough. I've been mixing green and herbal teas at the very same moment, and it's got me feeling saucy.
Huh. Okay. Well, I think if Florida State can win by 11, so can Alabama. I think there's a lot of validity to all of the statements that you've brought to the table here this evening.
But you're going chalk.
I'm going chalk. And I don't feel great about it because, I don't like road favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Never have, never will. But
yeah,
Alabama has so many ways that they can score points offensively. The one question I have that I haven't mentioned is what's going to happen when Jalen Hurts goes up against this defense. Like, what will Hugh Freeze dial up against him? Will Ole Miss and those Land Sharks pin their ears back and be able to get to
Third California
Jalen Hurts? They've got a running game with 2 dynamic backs. They've got some awesome weapons out wide, and now they've got a quarterback who can not only throw a pretty nice deep ball, but can also move if he needs to. He's mobile.
Yeah.
That's a lot to defense if you're Ole Miss, and I think ultimately it catches up with them. I think Bama can still cover this point spread and avoid the so-called crock pot, if you will. They could pull this one out late, maybe a little bit of a front door cover.
Whoa.
Something like that. So let's say 34-24. That's a push. That's a push.
That's a push.
35-24 Alabama.
35-24 and the final Alabama-Ole Miss game for Uncle Vern. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There are a number of energetic announcing duos that are going to be taking part in this weekend of college football. I'm excited.
True.
All right, let's stay at 3:30, Dan. I know what game you'll be watching.
Wow.
This one is over on ABC, also at 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
It is in Nebraska.
I've been. We met there.
We
This
met
is the
there.
place of our meeting.
Nebraska at home. The Huskers a 3-point favorite against your beloved Oregon Ducks.
Yes.
Speaking of shootouts, yeah, I think we got one here, Dan. These teams last played back in like the mid-'80s, so it's been a while. Nebraska, Tom Osborne back then, they smoked the Ducks both times. That doesn't have much to do with present day.
No.
This is a different day and age, no longer 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We've got 2 offenses that, frankly, it feels like whichever has the ball last is going to win.
Okay.
I flip-flopped on this one about 18 times, but I think I have settled on taking Nebraska to win this game outright and cover the spread.
Wow. Okay. What gives you the confidence in Nebraska against this team on either side?
Yeah, confidence.
And it's obviously not unreasonable. They're favorite.
Sure, confidence is an interesting word to throw about here because I'm not feeling great about it. But
What gives you the sense that Nebraska covers?
the circumstances to me are as follows. An improved Tommy Armstrong in like his 34th year as starting quarterback.
Yep.
He's got Jordan Westerkamp out wide, which is a reliable target.
Brandon Riley.
Yeah, he's got an offensive line that, statistically speaking anyway, has been okay so far. I think Nebraska can win this game if they don't beat themselves. If you read some of the reports this week, Mike Riley in some of his pressers talked a lot about needing to limit stupid penalties and things like that. You don't want to give Oregon any extra yards. They've obviously got to get off the field and avoid stupid personal foul calls that occur after the whistle. If they can do that and avoid beating themselves, I think they have more than enough on both sides of the football to beat Oregon here. The fact that they're at home, just the fact that they had so much terrible luck a year ago, sooner or later they got to win one of these big games, and I think this could be it.
Sooner or later, they have to win. Okay. Nebraska's a good team. Nebraska has not played a decent team, and neither has Oregon. So we don't fully know about these teams. I would say we probably are more confident in what we've seen out of Nebraska at the moment, just because they were able to pull away from Wyoming last week. They sort of play games in different ways. Nebraska couldn't pull away from Wyoming until they did. Oregon pulled away from Virginia until they couldn't really build on it. So Oregon's been jumping on teams. Nebraska has sort of been slowly outpaced, or not slowly, but just at the very end, finishing a team like Wyoming
So
off.
we've got a front runner against a closer.
Correct. Oregon is Steve Prefontaining at this moment.
Gotcha.
Which is fine. I always like that. The concern for me, if I'm Oregon, and I'm definitely not Oregon, is the run defense. And the concern, if I'm Nebraska, is running the ball. So that almost feels like it'll cancel itself out on a certain level, just that I don't think either one of those are going to be a huge issue or success for these teams. Nebraska's coaches are on a significant losing streak against Oregon. Mike Riley, I believe, has lost 7 straight. Their defensive coordinator, Mark Banker, has lost, I believe, 7 straight against this Oregon offense during his time at Oregon State. But this Nebraska team is much more talented than those Oregon State teams. I think Oregon wins this. Their offensive line is going to get a big boost playing Tyrell Crosby, their all Pac-12 level left tackle, for, I believe, the duration of this game. He should be healthy enough. Nebraska's pretty beat up on both sides. There could be up to, I think, 4 starters not playing for the Huskers. We'll see. I am just at the point where, outside of Nebraska's corners, and I do like their defense a good amount, albeit green, and we haven't seen them against a good team. The best thing in this game, to me, still, is Oregon's offense and Oregon's skill players. And I'm just not a big believer yet. There's no reason for me to say this is how Nebraska wins, and the most proven entity is Oregon's skill. I'm going to go with the Ducks. I think it's going to be relatively close, but I think they win this game 41-35.
The other thing I'd add from a defensive standpoint for Nebraska, you need to prevent Oregon from ripping off big plays on the ground.
Yeah.
So far in this young season, Nebraska hasn't been great at preventing those big ground plays.
Right.
And that kind of goes hand in hand with not making stupid penalties that are going to keep Oregon on the field. Be good on third down. Don't allow big plays on the ground because Oregon's got the manpower to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a whole, too, I will add one final tidbit about Oregon's defense. I do think they're trending upwards. It just needs to get better.
Oof.
And
you're more confident than I am.
Well, right. This is a game where I think we're really going to see how far away Oregon is from getting to a respectable level.
Sure.
They just need to get better at getting off the field on third downs.
Yeah.
They are currently 92nd in the nation at stopping third downs, and that's against UC Davis and Virginia.
Yeah. It seems like it's a gap thing much more than a talent thing, so hopefully it's fixable in a week, but I've watched Oregon's defense try to fix itself quickly before. Doesn't always work.
A lot of points here.
Yeah.
I played the shootout sound at the top of the capsule.
That's right.
Nebraska wins 43-37. Good game.
Okay, cool.
We've disagreed on all 3 games so far.
Oh, man. Disagreement all around.
All right. Let's take a breather for a second.
Let's.
If you are interested in going to any of these contests this weekend, it's a little late in the game, but you can still get tickets if you go on out to SeatGeek.
Oh, love
it is
SeatGeek.
Always the first place we look if we're trying to go to a game or a concert. Look, I got the app on my phone. I used it the other day to look for tickets, just see what's coming to the greater Philadelphia area. Everything about this app is designed to make it easier for you if you're a sports or a music fan. They do all the price comparison up front by searching the many ticket sites out there and ensuring that you get the best possible deal. They do all the work. They save you time and money. They want to help you get the most bang for your buck, which is why every ticket is given a grade based on value. This isn't something you find elsewhere. You can immediately see anything that's underpriced and find the best deals that fit your budget. Right now, the call to action for you, enterprising Verballer, is that you can get a $20 rebate off your very first SeatGeek purchase. If you want to qualify for that, you got to download the free SeatGeek app. Then you go to settings and add a promo code, and the promo code is SOLID, SOLID. After you make your first ticket purchase, they're going to send you $20. And that's pretty much it. It's a beeline from you wanting to go to an event to you getting tickets to said event to you getting $20 in a rebate form.
Wow.
All you need to use is that solid promo code.
I'm looking at the Philly concert calendar right now, Ty.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of great shows coming up.
They have a lot of great shows in Philly.
SeatGeek. The Proclaimers are playing Friday night. Jenny Lewis, Saturday night.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of good stuff. Rocky Vodolato, if you like that introspective emo acoustic scene. Come on.
There you go. Free SeatGeek app is available right now. Just use the promo code SOLID, SOLID.
Just
$20 after your first purchase. Let's go to the nightcap. 7:30 on NBC.
Lock of the week.
No!
Lock.
You better not do it. Don't you even dare.
Continue, Ty.
You spoiled it for me now. Notre Dame, 7.5-point favorite over Michigan State. These teams have not played since 2013. Our spreadsheet, for what it's worth, again, it's a composite of the ESPN FPI numbers and the numbers that our friends over at the Massey Peabody rankings have graciously sent to us. That spreadsheet says that Notre Dame should be favored in this game by 13 points.
Okay.
It is pretty simple. The way to beat Notre Dame is through the air. That's how you do it. That's the template. This is a team, look, they are still trying to develop their playmakers on defense. A lot of turnover from a year ago. I believe, if I saw correctly, and I could be wrong, I believe they have 0 sacks thus far this season. You combine that with their corners who are getting iced on streaks down the field.
Iced and torched, which is very rare.
Dusted, whatever verb you want to use, all of it applies. Now, Sean Crawford, who was their promising corner, he's out for the year after blowing out an Achilles. So there's a bit of an issue with depth. Guys just need to step up, particularly in the secondary if Notre Dame wants to contend here. So that's the way you do it.
Sure.
I don't know if Michigan State can do that. They don't frighten me particularly much through the air because the tendency is to rely on LJ Scott.
Just completely writing off the effort of the Furman Paladins. Just completely. Okay. Michigan State's pass catchers are pretty green outside of Josiah Price in terms of proven playmaking talent. LJ Scott, we think, is very good. Yes.
Yep.
We think the defense is probably very good. But the best thing in this game, to me, appears to be Deshaun Kaiser. Deshaun Kaiser at home. Michigan State, I think you're right about not necessarily having the ability to consistently go downfield, but we saw a true freshman do it 2 weeks ago with more talent to throw to. I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I'm going to roll with the quarterback. I'm going to roll with the home fields. And it doesn't seem to me that this Notre Dame defense is getting worse. I don't know if they're necessarily trending in the right direction, but I think they're going to be good enough. And even though they don't have a sack yet, I feel like they want sacks, Ty. I feel like they want them. I feel like the desire is there. And eventually that's going to come through. And mostly because Michigan State looked sort of slow, but they're coming off a bye week, which is always nice before a big game. I'm still going to go 34-24 Notre Dame. I still think they get it done.
Notre Dame 2016, a desire for sacks. Okay.
A desire for sacks.
Yeah.
Who can say that there isn't one? Not I.
Back to my point about LJ Scott.
Mm-hmm.
A conservative game plan here is probably the wrong approach if you're trying to beat Notre Dame. I don't know if they have the players to pull off something more aggressive. So with that being said,
who's Notre Dame's best defensive player?
Best defensive player?
Yeah, who are you most confident will come to play against what we will assume is a very prepared Michigan State team?
I like Jaron Jones up the middle.
Okay.
I like Niles Morgan. He's played better. The rest, it's sort of a toss-up, Dan.
Okay. Jerry Tillery's still there, yes?
Jerry Tillery, yeah. Toughness, a little bit of a question with Tillery.
Okay.
Can he get off some of those blocks?
Same for me, Ty.
Sure. And me as well.
This is a huge question for us.
So they're still trying to find these playmakers. It's like I said a couple weeks ago. We don't know who the playmakers are yet. We might find them in due time, but defensively, we don't know who Notre Dame's playmakers are. There isn't a Jalen Smith or a Kavari Russell or a Sheldon Day or even a Joe Schmidt.
Yeah,
We don't have those names yet.
Big Louis Nix.
Absolutely. So we don't have those playmakers on defense. The defense is a bit of a question mark. As you alluded, the offense is not.
Right.
The offense is not. 43 points per game so far through 2 weeks. That is not an aberration. If you're picking Michigan State here, I think you need to be confident in their ability to score like 35 points. And based on what I've seen so far, I can't say that I am. So I think I like Notre Dame here.
Get saucy with it, Ty.
No, if I'm going with my head, I say 34-20 Notre Dame.
Okay.
But I want to tack on a touchdown for superstitious reasons only. I'm going to say Notre Dame wins this game 34-27. Maybe a bit of a backdoor cover.
So backdoor cover for Michigan State.
For Michigan State, yeah.
Something else to remember, keep in the back of your head with Michigan State, is they are penalty stricken a lot. They not stricken, but they commit a bunch of penalties. I think their first game they committed 10 penalties, which is something that has continued over these past couple seasons. So untimely penalties favors Notre Dame. Also, can't stress this enough, Ty, and I want us to be clear on our stance. We both believe Notre Dame wants to sack quarterbacks.
Yes, we do. That's correct.
The desire is there. Okay,
That's
glad.
correct.
Okay,
I will check with some of my Notre Dame sources.
Good.
But I believe that is their intent.
Not for lack of desire.
As a defensive unit, correct.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
All right. Shall we move on?
Let's do that.
All right. Let's move on. 7:30 now. We're staying at night. A lot of action going on at night, Dan.
So where's the window has to be the morning if you're going to do something other than watch football, spend time with loved ones who are not interested in watching football?
Can I be honest with you here?
Yeah.
Can I shoot you straight? Because we're all friends here, right?
Brass tacks, me Ty.
My window of opportunity is going to be bright and early.
Okay, what are you doing?
Now, I'm an early riser. I woke up at like 4:30 this morning.
Jesus.
That's just sort of how I roll. But
Yeah.
I am going to wake up not quite as early on Saturday morning. Going to wake up, going to try and catch an early tea time and take in 18 before the game starts. That's a long day. I'm signing myself up for a long, exhausting day of golf and football, which I know, cry me a river.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
if there is a window of opportunity for those of us who are on the East Coast, I think it's got to be early. If you care about college football, it's got to be early because there are games the whole way through starting at noon.
Fair enough.
Just the way it is, okay? 7:30 again at night. Here we go. Fox, Ohio State on the road, 1.5. The favorite at Oklahoma. The series here, I looked this up on Winsipedia. The series here is tied at 1. Oklahoma won back in 77.
I think we remember that very clearly.
Sure, Ohio State won in 83.
Okay.
This is the year we finally settle the score.
Okay.
Is this a Gus game?
It's Gus. If it's the Fox game, I think, Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt.
Yeah. Whatever came of our little prank on Joel Klatt? Did he address
I
it?
never saw a response. By the way, before we dive into this game, the funniest thing I saw, and let's be clear, we love Joel Klatt. He's like a college football conspiracy theorist. And
Is he
has been
really?
for a couple of years. You don't know about this?
I've picked up hints of it here and there.
So last year he said that Cardale Jones started over J.T. Barrett so Urban Meyer could appease the high school, the Cleveland High School that I think Ted Ginn Sr. coaches at, which now slips my mind what high school that is, where Cardale Jones went.
Yeah,
so It was sort of like a play the local guy, all things being equal, to keep this recruiting window open.
Okay.
This year he said, this was last week, I don't know where he said it, I just saw it written out, that Steve Sarkisian was hired by Alabama as a chess move from Nick Saban to prevent Steve Sarkisian going to LSU.
To LSU. Right. I did see that.
And I thought to myself, man, are we all just watching LSU thinking they're just a Sarkisian away? They're just a Sark away from turning this ship around. I don't feel like we have been. Maybe we're all wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Sarkisian is not exactly a meteor headed towards college football.
No, and certainly had a lot of success as a play caller and an offensive mind, and not necessarily as a head coach at USC. He turned around the Washington program and got them to a very respectable place. But, man, LSU is just Sark away from taking over the SEC once again. That was a really funny, and he brought up a lot of good points about sort of the inequality of Alabama having 20 secret analyst coaches and nobody else being able to afford it. That's all fine. It was all worthwhile, but I just loved that. Just a Sark away.
That's all it is, man. That's all it is. All right, back to the game.
Okay, Ohio State, Oklahoma.
I'm excited for this game.
It's going to be real fun.
A great test for the Baby Buckeyes here on the road, right? At night in Norman. Also, on the flip side, a must win game for Oklahoma if they fashion themselves at all as a repeat playoff contender. This game, to me, it's your week 3 inkblot test.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see an Ohio State team that's loaded with talent, or do you see a young team that's not ready? For Oklahoma, do you see a veteran team that fought back last season? Or do you see a team that lost a few too many pieces and has yet to really find rhythm enough to win a big game like this? So let me ask you, what is it? What side of the coin are you on?
I am more confident in the Ohio State side of addressing issues that have popped up both during the offseason and all those players leaving. And I believe you have that as a fantasy thing. And also their ability to correct early mistakes during the season. There's been some sloppiness on offense, but they have an extremely versatile player in Curtis Samuel. And defensively, they're certainly young up front, but deep with talent. Bob Landers, I think it's Robert Landers. I'm going to call him Bob Landers. A rotation, a young guy, a freshman. Rotation defensive lineman has been very active. They have Nick Bosa, who's getting into the rotation. These are not even starters, and they're being great. They're playing well. So Ohio State, to me, when a defense is the dominant unit early, I feel as if they can travel, and I feel as if they can cause enough chaos against a team that has struggled on both lines early on against a good team in Houston. Certainly Oklahoma can get better, but I don't see it. I don't see the Oklahoma line of scrimmage getting to the point in which they can consistently compete with Ohio State. So I am going to go, especially given Ohio State's secondary against Baker Mayfield and everything that Oklahoma is going to try to do. I'm going to take the road favorite in Ohio State.
Yeah.
And I am so confident.
Wow.
I'm just going to lock it up.
Lock of the week.
It's funny you should say that, Dan.
Oh, my God. No, don't do it, Ty.
It's funny you should say that. What I see here is an Ohio State team. You talked about the defense, but I see an offensive line that has played fairly well thus far. Not against elite competition, but
sure.
As far as the opponent adjusted numbers go, the results have been there. An adequate protection for a guy like JT Parrott. Did I say JT Parrott?
That's the name of our office bird.
Hold on. JT Parrott. Oh, my God. I think there will be plays down the field here. You mentioned our friends over at Pro Football Focus. They like what he's able to do with throwing the deep ball, at least through 2 games. So I think those plays are going to be there. What I'm really curious to see early on in this game is whether or not Oklahoma can run. If they can run here, that means less of a need to pass against a good Ohio State secondary and less of a need to throw at my boy Malik Hooker, who already has 3 picks.
True.
All right, so can you run the ball? That's kind of been a question all year, but can you run the ball early against Ohio State and take some pressure off that pass game? Look, I think this is an awesome football game any way you shake it. Credit to both these teams for making this game happen, and credit to Oklahoma, really, for not only playing Houston, but also Ohio State in the same year. I don't know if they planned this. I don't know how they could have, but it's working out well for them.
I think they were hoping for a lesser Houston when they scheduled that game.
For sure, but it's working out well for them because if you beat Ohio State, you jump back in this thing.
Sure.
From my standpoint, though, I've just been down on Oklahoma since before the season started. I think a good game, but I like Ohio State more. I think something like 34-30. I'm very confident in this one. I am confident in other ones, and we will get to those, Dan. But for right now, let's make it a double barrel lock.
Wow.
Lock of the week.
Yeah, 34-30. Give me the Baby Buckeyes.
Okay.
All right.
Road favorites. Okay, we double barrel lock road favorites. Next game should be the primetime game, I believe. There could not possibly be another. Yeah, there actually are other really good games in the 7 o'clock hour, but let's go to the primetime game.
Let's go to the primetime game, 8 o'clock ABC at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this one at Stanford -9 at home against USC.
Mm-hmm.
You know the rub against USC. All right, I got Mr. Softy going in the background there.
All
right.
Yeah.
A little bit of a toughness issue with USC over the years. And
line's down to about 8.5.
8.5, okay.
Yeah, opened at 6.5, went to 9. Now it's dropped a little bit, a little correcting to 8.5.
So Stanford and USC played twice last year. Stanford scored 41 points in each of those matchups. They won the first regular season, quote-unquote regular season matchup, 41-31. And then they won by 19, 41-22 in the Pac-12 championship game. Let me ask you this question. Again, a question.
Yeah.
To kick things off. I know you're taking Stanford because you'd take Stanford over like the 85 Bears at this point.
Okay.
But is there a chance that USC is being unfairly dismissed, if you will, because they got mauled so terribly against Alabama 2 weeks ago?
May I respond to your question with a question?
Please.
What percentage of Stanford groins have been stomped on? Because that changes things.
It does a little bit, yeah.
I'm going to go Stanford. I am going Stanford. And it's mostly because I don't believe USC has gotten, other than in hiring a coordinator, terribly better on defense from where they were last year. And Stanford has certainly taken at least a step back offensively in our minds because of the loss of Kevin Hogan and all the experience and winning that he brought to Palo Alto and the loss of a couple pretty significant offensive linemen, and because of Stanford's struggles in the second half against Kansas State until that 41-yard run by Christian McCaffrey to seal the win. Stanford was wildly unimpressive on offense in that second half. So reasons to be down on both of these teams, but the fact that it's at home, the fact that Max Brown has been underwhelming, but I think eventually will be okay, or Sam Darnold will be okay in this offense. But I tend to go with what I just believe in more, and what I believe in more is on offense. The best player in this game is clearly Christian McCaffrey. Apologies to Adoree Jackson or Ronald Jones, but it's so very clearly Christian McCaffrey. So I'm going to go with Stanford here, 31-20. Cardinal take it at home in sort of an expected type win. I think Christian McCaffrey breaks out, because if he doesn't, that's two sort of underwhelming games to start the season.
Yeah, true.
I don't see Christian McCaffrey going on a streak of being average. I just don't.
I agree with you that Stanford's going to run the ball because they got Christian McCaffrey. We know they're going to run the ball.
And USC's beat up.
USC's beat up, and they're inexperienced in their front seven. We saw them wear down against Alabama. It was a big part of the reason why they lost by 46.
Mm-hmm.
I think USC can establish a running game, though. I think they can run the football in this game. And that should not be overlooked as well, provided both teams can run. I actually think this one is close. And believe me, I don't feel great about picking anything in USC's favor at this point, because I just don't know which direction this thing's all headed. But Lord knows they've got talent, as they always do. If they can establish some kind of ground game, I think they cover the spread. I think Stanford wins, but I think it's like 35-30. I think a lot of points. I think questions abound about both defenses afterwards. But
wow, Stanford gives up 30?
Within the context of this game, I think USC can run. I think they will run. I think it's back and forth. I expect Stanford to win by 5 here, but not cover the spread. So give me the Trojans.
Okay. USC also beat up front. Their offensive line is a walking wounded mash type unit at the moment, and that has me concerned about their ability to sort of hold Stanford off the field, the Stanford offense off the field. But yeah, you're right. There's a ton of talent there.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Let's go back in time to Thursday at 7:30 on ESPN. This is another big one. The reason we do this, again, is we don't want to invalidate the program.
We're looking out for Friday listeners.
Yeah, we're looking out for the Friday listeners out there.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want you to hear this and think, oh, boy, it's already outdated. So we're moving it towards the end. Not at the end. We got more to discuss. But Thursday, 7:30 ESPN. This is a big game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real big game. Houston, an 8-point road favorite against Cincinnati. Last year, this was a tight one, a tight game. Houston won by, 33-30 at home.
Yep.
This year now at Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati, Dan, can the Cougars go up to 2,700 Bearcats way and get an important victory here?
Can they?
I know they can, but I'm trying to be dramatic about it.
Okay. So a couple concerns for Houston, even though Greg Ward and I think it's Duke Catalan coming back from injury, they're still beat up. They're still not going to be 100%. And I don't anticipate Tom Herman loving Greg Ward and designed runs, as I believe it's his throwing shoulder that got hurt. So their offense will look a little bit different, but he's still going to extend plays.
Can I play a sound?
Please.
Feeling a little bit of a shootout, a little shootouty here, maybe?
I think that's pretty fair to say.
Okay.
Houston, they haven't been able to run the ball extremely well in their one game against an FBS team in Oklahoma, but I feel like they'll be able to stop the run. But both of these teams' past defenses, aren't the greatest. So yeah, I think shootout is fair, and I'm going to take the home dog on a Thursday night. I don't think Cincinnati wins, but I think it's a back and forth game. And
so another home dog.
Another home dog. I think Houston wins this game 31-28. Very much like last year's game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand the line. I get it why it's 8. Houston just beat Oklahoma by 10. They're probably the better team here. I have fewer questions about them than I do Cincy.
Sure.
But to your point, Thursday night game, a revenge spot perhaps for Cincinnati. Who knows how banged up Greg Ward was or wasn't, or how it changes the offense. And furthermore, I'm not a math whiz, but I did reference our little composite numbers spreadsheet that we have. This line, based on what we have, should be more like Houston -3 as opposed to -8. And that's quite a disparity. So I think you get a sense for where I'm leaning here. I think Cincy moves the ball on Houston. I think Houston moves the ball on Cincy. Where I kind of fall on this game is really a result of 3 of my own personal gambling rules. Okay. 1, we've got a potential shootout with one team getting more than 7.
Okay.
My rule about always taking points in a shootout. I think one team getting more than 7, so I'm inclined to go Cincy +8. Fine. Rule number 2, we've got a de facto national championship game here for Cincinnati. That's my fancy way of saying this is probably the biggest game on Cincinnati's schedule, and I think it means a lot more to them than it does Houston.
Okay.
And 3, we've got a Yakos home dog.
The Yakos home dog of the week.
Yeah, so they are hungry for revenge here. As a home dog, I think Houston wins. I would not be surprised to see Cincinnati pull off the upset, but I certainly like them to cover. I'm going to say Houston wins a fun one, 38-34 on Thursday night.
Okay. They do host USF in a couple weeks. Another de facto Super Bowl.
Thank you. That's not Houston, though. Houston's a playoff contender. USF is an upstart program.
Yeah, healing Heisman-level quarterback on the road against a quality team on a Thursday night. It's just tough. It's a tough spot. I think Houston's a better team, and I'm going to go with the better team, but I think we are in agreement there.
All right, moving on. We've got some other noteworthy games here. I referred to them lovingly before as the undercard. These aren't undercard games. These are actually pretty good games. Saturday, high noon. Did you put this one on the list, or did I do it by mistake?
I think you did this.
Damn it.
You did this.
Fine. Miami -3.5.
Uh-huh.
On the road against App State. You just know this is a game App State's going to win, right?
Of course they are.
Because of my rant 2 weeks ago, App State's somehow going to beat Miami.
Do you have a pick?
I got to go.
Confident with Miami?
I got to go Miami. Yeah, blindly.
Good.
Yeah.
I love that you picked Miami because I disagree. Not only is App State going to win, App State's going to look really good winning.
Stop
App State has a good defense.
Stop it.
Playing at home.
Stop it.
No, I'm not going to stop it. And not only that, Ty, I'm going to lock it up. How about that?
Lock of the week.
Wow, we talked on our last show about Kalani Sitake's big balls.
You just got finished talking about this is the team's Super Bowl. This is a team's national championship.
What about
App
the
State-
Tennessee game? What was that?
Was at Tennessee.
Was that
was
chicken
at
liver?
Tennessee. This is at App State. This is in Boone. Beautiful Boone.
Stop it. Stop it with this App State crap.
We're talking about a national championship program. I mean, formerly national championship program. Going to Boone, North Carolina. This is the stage, Ty. I'm going App State. I'm rolling with the defense. I'm going with the Mountaineers. They're going to win outright. Miami's going to have a little bit of difficulty stopping that weird option system. And I'm rolling with it, Ty. You know why? I'm going to go back to it. I'm feeling saucy this week.
Okay.
It's home dog week, and you're turning your back on Yakos. I would never turn my back on Yakos.
Whatever. Saturday, high noon, Temple at Penn State. Penn State -9.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
Lock of the week.
You liked Ohio State and now App State. I like Ohio State and now Penn State -9. Penn State is going to hammer Temple.
Really?
They are going to hammer Temple in this football game.
Why do you say that?
A backbreaking loss a week ago to Pitt. I don't care what kind of bonehead articles they publish on Onward State. This is absolutely a rivalry between Penn State and Pitt.
Of course it is.
And it absolutely leaves a mark when you lose, especially for a game within reach. And I think especially now with growing criticism about what James Franklin has done at Penn State. Now they come back home, another in-state quote-unquote rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've kind of talked down about this maybe being a revenge spot after Temple won last year, but it's a revenge spot. If you cannot get fired up for this game, I don't even know what's going to do it. So I think big offensive game for Penn State, 150 and 3 scores for Saquon, 250 and a few touchdowns for Trace McSorley, Chris Godwin, Deshaun Hamilton, both at or near 100 yards. Give me Penn State big. I like Penn State big. Penn State 41, Temple like 17.
Couldn't be happier to disagree with you. 20-14 Penn State, they cover, but Temple's got a good defense still. They don't have Tyler Matakevich, but they still have a good defense. The offense isn't all that special, but that's not a new thing for Temple.
No.
Haven't you seen enough of Temple to stop saying teams are going to blow them out?
Temple is going to get the doors blown off it.
Didn't the Notre Dame game last year put the fear of life into you?
That was a different Temple team, Dan. This is a Temple team that lost to Army.
Sure. It's a Temple team that lost to Army. I think Temple covers this game.
All right. I to disagree.
I do not see Penn State as a team that loses a close one in a rivalry game and just decides, well, that's over with. We're going to be even bigger and better now. Nope. Sorry. Don't see it.
I think Penn State rips off their arms and legs in this game.
Okay.
All right. Saturday, 3:30, Pitt at Oklahoma State. Weird game here.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State, 6.5 points at home, the favorite.
Yes.
I believe they, too, have some steam they'd like to blow off.
Yeah.
You may be familiar with what happened last week against Central Michigan. Pitt, for their part, has looked solid, not nearly as solid as I would have hoped.
Yeah.
All right. The offense just been way too conservative, and they are not built to come from behind. So I think the Pokes, if they get up early, that could be all she wrote. This is not a Pitt team that's going to excel much when playing from behind. The matchup to watch is going to be Mason Rudolph against Pitt secondary and Jordan Whitehead. What can he do against that unit? I like Oklahoma State here. I like them to cover. Give me Okie State.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's a letdown spot for Pitt to come off the emotional win against Penn State and then travel across the country to play against a team that you would think last week hopefully galvanized them. Oklahoma State. Shocker, I know. Actually, play the breaking news sound, Ty.
Breaking news!
Boop, 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 boop. Oklahoma State still can't run the ball. They still can't run the ball, but I don't think it ultimately matters because I don't think Pitt is all that. I mean, Pitt is good, but I don't think they're good enough to do it on the road, especially their pass defense is pretty suspect. They let Penn State get back to the game, and that plays into what Oklahoma State wants to do. I think it's just a bad matchup and a bad time. Pitt also, I think, begins their ACC season next week against North Carolina, which is certainly an opponent that Pitt will also be taking seriously. I think it's another road game as well. So I think Oklahoma State's in a good position to bounce back in a significant way. Oklahoma State wins this 28-17.
Staying at 3:30 on Saturday. Let's play a little music.
Oh, there it is. Oh, she's so beautiful.
Talk to us, Dan. Tell me what's going on here.
Colorado decided today, as we are recording this on Tuesday evening, to release a depth chart that honors Michigan's policy of not releasing a depth chart, of releasing a depth chart for the Buffaloes of all fake names. Made up names. Eric Cartman appears on this. There's all sorts of great names. You should check it out. Look it up. Colorado is just, I don't want to speak for you, but in terms of the hosts of this show, if I were to pick a team that I just want to improve dramatically, year in and year out, it's Colorado.
Yeah.
And the fact that Michigan is coached by a big angry person that entertains us all by eating or perhaps not eating his boogers.
Yeah. By the way, someone called us out for not mentioning that on the last show.
The boogers, excuse me.
Yeah.
If Colorado's good in this game, I don't think they're going to win this game, but I'd like for them to lose 38-24. And their defense is probably going to hold Colorado down a little bit more. If they can lose this game 31-20, I'd be very happy for the promise that Colorado can show. So Colorado is my America's team, hence the music.
America's team. Just this weekend or all year?
This weekend for now. And I think it's not even to be disputed. They have the best mascot in college football.
Ralphie the Buffalo.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I want Colorado to be good.
Michigan is a 20.5-point favorite here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we go Colorado. They're America's team. How can you root against America's team?
They have blown out two teams to start the season. Sefo Liufau has come back from a pretty significant injury.
Great numbers, by the way, according to our friends over at Pro Football Focus. They love him.
It's going to be a tough task against this Michigan defense, a very talented Michigan defense, particularly up front, but that secondary led by Jordan Lewis. I don't think Colorado has the talent to test Michigan over 4 quarters, but I think they're creative. I think they've taken steps in the right direction, and for that reason, I think it's a weird game. Colorado covers. How about that?
Saturday, 7 p.m. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about some of these nightcaps.
Mm-hmm.
A couple pretty big ones in the SEC. Texas A&M at Auburn. Auburn at home in Jordan-Hare, 3.5-point favorite. This, to me, is the weirdest line of the day.
One for every Kyler Murray interception from last year.
I don't get this. I do not get this line at all.
Why?
Look, if you think Auburn can win, you got to hitch your wagon to something. You got to hitch it to a reason why.
Yeah.
Games at Jordan-Hare at night. Okay, great. That's an advantage. How much is that really worth? I look at this Auburn team, I see an aggressively average team. You like the personnel on defense. That's great.
Nice defense.
It's a mediocre offense.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what A&M did to a much better quarterback in Josh Rosen. You think Sean White's going to hold up under that?
First of all, how dare you mention Josh Rosen without mentioning that scouts are drooling
right.
over those throws that Josh Rosen is just putting on a line.
Look at what A&M did to him. And you tell me that you think Sean White's going to be able to hold up under that kind of pressure. I just don't see it.
Well, different kind of offenses, I would say. Yes.
Yeah.
What Auburn's going to be running and what UCLA, much more pro set now. Auburn beat Texas A&M last year. And what has Texas A&M changed? They've gotten healthier on defense, and they've added Trevor Knight and lost a couple key offensive players. Okay. That seems relatively even. Auburn's offense is probably going to struggle more often than not this year, but looked decent against a Sun Belt team last week in Arkansas State. Auburn's skill position players on offense, it's got a little thinner, I would say, over the course of the offseason. I think Auburn covers this game. I'm not fully willing to buy into Texas A&M. Not yet. Led by two teams led by their defenses. I'm going to take the home team. That's a field goal and a half favorite. Yeah.
Well,
How about that?
The matchup to watch here is A&M's O-line against Auburn's defensive front.
Yeah, I think that's good.
The A&M line's been pretty good this year at keeping Trevor Knight protected. If he's got time to pick and choose which monster receiver he'd like to throw to, I don't see Auburn winning. But if they're able to disrupt him, I'm still not sold on him as a passer. If and only if they can do that, I like Auburn's chances. But I just think too much to like about A&M on defense. I like A&M to win this one on the road. Yeah, give me the Aggies.
It's a tough battle between NFL scouts who love Josh Rosen and Trent Dilfer who loves Sean White.
Yeah, that's true.
There's so much love.
Okay. Also, at 7 o'clock on Saturday, Mississippi State on the road at LSU. LSU, 12.5-point favorite. This looks to be a game between two teams now that have quasi-steadied their quarterback ships in week 2. Mississippi State, I know, don't laugh.
I disagree.
Don't laugh.
Disagree.
Mississippi State got a little bit of clarity that Nick Fitzgerald can be really good.
Yeah, at times.
And likewise, LSU got something more, we'll say, from Danny Etling.
Whew, morsels, but yes.
Got a little bit more, right?
Yes.
He led them on a couple scoring drives. That was something.
Hey, growth, Ty. Growth. Incremental.
LSU minus 12.5. Who you like?
I'm going to take the points. I like
Yeah.
Mississippi State here. Mississippi State has played LSU relatively tough in recent years, and LSU might be garbage.
Secret garbage?
Man, it's such a mean thing to say. So I'm going to lighten that, and I'm going to say LSU might be just a struggle factory at this point. And a double-digit win over a decent team, even if it being in Baton Rouge makes a difference. The Brandon Harris and Danny Etling cocktail is not something I recommend before watching a football game. So I'm going to take the points in a confused state.
Possibly just a vaguely pungent odor.
Yeah.
That you smell in your fridge, right? You don't know where.
Vaguely pungent.
Yeah, vaguely pungent.
Get into it. LSU football.
Okay.
So who are you going?
I'm going to go LSU.
Interesting. Okay.
Georgia at 7:30 p.m., a 7-point favorite on the road against Missouri. I think this matchup favors Georgia because Missouri can't run and they got a pass to win, and that plays right into the teeth of the Georgia defense. So I like Georgia.
Is Georgia vaguely pungent, though?
They could be. They could be. They were last week. They almost lost to Nichols.
Road favorites. Yeah, I'm going to go with home dogs here. It's home dog week. I'm going to roll with Bill C. and Mizzou. His birthday was like a week ago. Let's do that.
Wow. You know what?
The Yakos. Home dog of the week.
What the hell? How many home dogs do we have here?
I don't know. But
Yakos should be paying us for this.
They really should be.
I'll go Missouri plus the 7. What the heck?
Yeah.
Why not? Saturday, 10:15. Don't think you're getting off at 11 o'clock? I don't think you're getting off early. UCLA minus 3.5 on the road at BYU, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that warrants consideration.
Forgot you were going to do this.
Week 1.
Yeah.
BYU 18 points against Arizona.
Uh-huh. Yep, I'm with you.
Week 2, 19 points against Utah in the Holy War. Could this finally be the week that BYU gets to 20? Could this finally be the week where BYU's quest to 20?
The quest for 20.
Could this be the quest for 20 week?
Knocking on that door. I'm going to say no.
No.
I think BYU's offense is vaguely pungent and is not built to take advantage of UCLA's, even though UCLA's defense, even though the Bruins are allowing a bunch on the ground.
Yeah.
I still think UCLA gets it together enough that they beat BYU once again in the home-and-home series. I'm going to say 27-20 UCLA. But BYU, in correct fashion, nails that 20 points, and I'm going to go, yes, they are hitting that 20 point. They're not winning.
I would like to know from any of the quants out there, any of the people who are far better with querying large pools of data than you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been a team that scored 18, 19, and 20 in consecutive weeks?
I certainly hope so, because we can keep playing the sound. We can keep playing the music if it is.
Because if you go 18 and 19 and then 20, 21's on the table for week 4. That's an achievable number in the sport of football.
They're going to be dealt a straight.
We got a sequence going here.
Yep.
For the BYU Cougars.
Mm-hmm. And what was the Jim Carrey movie? What was the number in the Jim Carrey movie that he saw everywhere? Was it 23?
I believe it was 23, yeah.
It was 23. Okay, so maybe BYU's on their way. We'll see. BYU, Quest for 23.
Finally, I'm so excited I got to play the King's Quest 5 theme song for something.
Is that? I have no idea what that is.
It was an old computer game. One of those RPG
Were there
games.
4 King's Quests before 5?
I believe so.
Or was that just the name of it? Okay.
There were like 100 King's Quests.
Was that one of those games where there was just out of nowhere, like damsel cleavage for no good reason?
Well, that might have been a little early for the cleavage, but there were some questionable scenes in some of those early games.
I don't see questionable here, Ty. I just see a bunch of dudes in capes.
Yeah. A lot of capes.
Oh, there's an owl.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. There's some out of nowhere cleave. I'm seeing it.
Okay.
King's Quest screenshot.
It's been a while for me. Been a while, but
interesting.
A little bit.
This makes no sense.
No.
This does not look like medieval frock.
Nope.
This does not look like 14th century wear. Okay.
Nope.
All right. Let's move on.
I am putting your home dog of the week theory for week 3 to the test here, the ultimate test.
Okay.
Our final undercard matchup, Saturday, 10:30 p.m. We've got Texas -8 on the road at Cal.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a game where Texas could run for like 500 yards. But Cal's got Davis Webb. It's the late game. Feels like a weird line. You going home dog here? You want to lock it up?
No, I go home dogs when they have a respectable defense.
Okay.
In this case, I'm not seeing that. Texas wins this game. It's going to be a shootout for sure.
Yeah, you want shootout? Shootout sound?
Give me some shootout.
Okay.
But 47-37 Texas.
Okay. Yeah, I like Texas to win this game. I'm not feeling Cal
Shane
much in this game.
Bushizas, Ty.
Shane Bushizas. There he is. Lest we forget. All right.
Wait, hold on. It would be our Lord and Savior?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's all I got in the way of college football. Unless you've got anything else.
No, you don't, Ty. No, you do not.
I have nothing else in front of me.
Because I need you to drop that filthy, crawling, sticky, waving, pulsating drum and fife. I like the pulsating, and I'm not sure why.
That was actually your tamest intro.
Is it
I think
really?
in like 3 years, yeah.
I really liked the undulating that I dropped.
That was a weak effort by you, but it was family friendly, so I'm okay with it.
Pulsating and sticky, I don't think is the most PG, but okay.
Continue.
Colgate takes on Yale at 1:30, and in the constant back and forth between the Patriot League and the Ivy League, you know we're going to ride with the Gators here because Yale, other than being near some very good pizza, I haven't had it, but I've been told, both Frank Pepe's and Sally's, New Haven style pizza, very good. I'm going with the Gators here. I'm going Colgate.
You got to go Gators here. Got to go Gators in a game like this. I feel like I went with the Gators a few weeks ago when it wasn't trendy and they won, but seeing as how my attention span and my memory lasts only about 6.5 hours, I cannot confirm nor deny that I'm accurate with that statement.
Lehigh Engineers, 5 p.m. taking on Penn on the road.
Yeah.
Tempted to take the Quakers here. One, because a friend of mine, Hugh, who works for Vox Media, he's a Penn Quaker.
Yeah.
Second, Lehigh is not anywhere near the restaurant Zahav, which is one of the greatest dining experiences I've had, and Penn is in fact close to Zahav.
Okay.
But I'm a big fan of Solid Wife Kate. I'm a big fan of not just her, but who she is, where she's been. I'm going with the Engineers here.
All right, I'm going Mountain Hawks as well. Give me the Mountain Hawks. Let's go Lehigh here, minus whatever against Penn.
Wow.
All due respect to our good friend, Professor Cade Massey, down at Penn. I was just down at Penn doing some radio stuff. Thank you very much. But let's go Mountain Hawks here. I like Lehigh.
Lafayette, Princeton, going Lafayette, going Leps, Lep up.
Please. You and your Lafayette love.
I have been to Easton, Pennsylvania, Ty. I went there between your wedding ceremony and your reception. Was a big fan of the campus. The quad, there's like a weird track around the quad. I feel like it's just producing beautiful people. I'm going Lafayette. It produced me. Princeton, complete joke. Shout out, though, Ty. Big shout out. Monty McNair. Princeton receiver.
I'm going to dispute you a little bit, having lived in the Lehigh Valley my entire adult life.
Not beautiful people?
Easton maybe not churning out beautiful people. It's not exactly a factory of beautiful people.
Right.
Lafayette's a fine educational institution. But in terms of sports, in terms of football, I mean, I know people who I went to high school with played at Lafayette. So that, I think, gets rid of all their credibility as a football program. Give me Princeton here. Big.
Big. Somebody who got married on the Lehigh campus.
Big.
So,
That's right.
Should also mention, before we move on, Katie the Capper got married. Went to Lafayette. She got married this past weekend.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations to Katie the Capper.
Yeah, okay.
But to a Notre Dame person. So, like, it's just...
You can't win, Dan. You can't win in this life.
Can't win. Cornell at Bucknell, 6 p.m. Nelly against Nelly.
See, we need Keith Jackson calling this game so that he can just constantly yell, "Whoa, Nelly."
Yeah. The Nelly Bowl is hotly contested.
Yeah.
I'm going Cornell because of Andy from The Office. Go Big Red.
Okay. I'm going to go.
And you hold a grudge against Bucknell.
I do hold a grudge against Bucknell, but cooler heads here, I think, are prevailing, and I'm going to go Bucknell. I'm going to go Bucknell for the second consecutive week.
You've changed, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm married now,
It's true. The Crusaders of Holy Cross and Albany.
Yeah.
Albany hosting the game. Do you feel good about Albany? Capital of my state.
I feel great about the Great Danes.
Why is that?
Because it's a big dog.
Are you going to get a dog? Are you in the market?
I'm allergic.
Are you to like everything?
Pretty much, yeah. I have warmed to canines as I've gotten to know Solid Wife Kate a little bit.
Is she pushing?
She's not pushing. She's pro pet, but also has some allergy concerns.
What is the compromise?
I don't know if there is a compromise.
I'm facing this.
The hypoallergenic thing has never really worked out for me. So I'm afraid that even if I wanted to, that wouldn't be enough to prevent my allergies from running amok.
Okay. You can get a bird named JT Parrott?
No, I don't think so.
What about like a snake?
No, God, no.
Dance around like Britney Spears?
No. I don't think there's a compromise.
What about a Roomba?
I wanted to get a Roomba, but they cost like
a Roomba.
They cost like $700.
No, every so often Amazon puts it on sale. On Prime Day, Roombas were like $250.
The good ones? The ones that don't get tangled up in your carpet?
I think a good Roomba was like $250, between $250 and $300.
Really?
I keep an eye out.
See, they make a knockoff Roomba called a
That's garbage.
Called a Nido. Supposedly it's not garbage, the Nido.
Oh. How much do they run?
I think they're significantly less, but it's a commitment. Like, it was the kind of thing that would have been a great wedding gift from a parent. Like, that's not something you're necessarily going to buy for yourself. But
Ty, you work so hard.
Now that we're like a year and a half in, I just can't justify spending that kind of money on it. I'd love to get one. I would name that if I had it.
Okay. Should we start a Kickstarter?
No, we're not starting a Kickstarter. No. Donate your money to people that need it, not to my Roomba fund.
But will you pay attention if Amazon puts it on sale?
If someone puts it on sale, I would love to get customer feedback.
The compromise.
I'd love to get customer feedback from people.
Yeah.
Who have robot vacuums. Yeah.
Okay.
But I would be open to that. I don't know. Are you going to get pets?
The solid fiance is allergic to literally everything in this world.
Okay, so that's a no.
I don't think, but I will save for a Roomba someday when I have a big enough place. I live in a small place in New York. That's sort of unnecessary to get one. I'm going the Crusaders.
Yeah, how'd we get talking about Roombas here?
Great Danes of Albany.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going the Crusaders, and I believe longtime verbaler, somebody like actively got offended that we didn't take Holy Cross last week. I believe her name is Caroline. So shout out to Caroline, Holy Cross grad. And that's a perfect way to get into. We've got some thank yous real quick, do we not?
Yeah, I'm going to go Crusaders as well. We don't want to.
Let's go Crusaders.
We don't want to anger the natives.
Yes, a quick thank you to Winston Gray, Andy Pratt, Sean Davis, Peter Hoffman, the Blank Scientist. Sorry about your Trojans, buddy. Carter Franklin, David Weldon, Aaron Whiteford, Prince Soiree. Sorry about your Nittany Lions, sir. Daniel Gallen, and our pal Sarah Smith, who we had on the show. If you remember, she was the one that shouted out
the Texas F girl. Yeah, how could we ever forget? Yeah,
and now she gets to see a really good Texas team. So Circle of Life, Ty, and of course, we ride.
We ride. Hold on.
Oh, do we ride?
We ride.
We ride with Brandon McKissick. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the show by either retweeting it or throwing us an iTunes review or sharing it on Facebook, liking it on Facebook, commenting on Facebook. Everything you do is incredible, and we are so incredibly grateful, and this is the least we could possibly do. Also, the shirts will be going out relatively soon. We apologize for the delay, but everything is getting straightened out and everything looks to be in the clear. So we're good.
For sure, if you ordered a shirt, check your email because we sent you something just to confirm your shipping address. There was some confusion there, but thank you, as always, for your undying support here of the Solid Verbal. We are very excited that it is week 3.
We ride.
A lot of action this week. A little bit longer show, but it was warranted. Bonus audio, bonus free audio here.
Sure.
On the show on this week 3. Don't forget to make your pick'em pool selections. We've got, I thought I saw over 1,000 entries in that pick'em pool, which means we will fall woefully short of the top 5%, but that's cool.
Yep.
We appreciate the support and the enthusiasm. Do check us out on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. We are also on iTunes at itunes.com/solidverbal, where you can rate and review us. Again, if you listen on Overcast, recommend us. Like us if you subscribe via Google Play or Stitcher or TuneIn or any one of the numerous places out there where you can find the show. And if you're awake bright and early, Saturday morning, if you're in one of the markets or even if you're not, download the SB Nation Radio app. A streamlined verbal coming your way at 6 a.m. Eastern time, Dan.
So you're either coming back late from a wonderful night out or a terrible night out, or you're getting up early to hit the day like Ty is, getting a quick 18. Just hang out with us while you do it.
There you go. There you go.
Maybe a walk of shame. Let us walk you with your shame.
Take the earbuds with you, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I am going to grab a quick 18 on Saturday morning, but I'll be around on Twitter.
Sweet.
Dan, you will be on Twitter as well, because that's where we are on a college football Saturday. We will talk to all y'all again on Sunday morning after the dust is settled. Please do call a reverb line at 408-VERBAL-1 for that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein. For myself, Ty Hildebrand, thanks again for your undying support. By all means, stay solid.
Peace.